Jack Graffeo, welcome to episode 1 of the Call Room Road to Balboa. How you doing this afternoon, man?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Doing really good. First note for you. So we did a similar series leading into Footlocker last year, and the first ever guest was Ryan Pajak, who now runs for Notre Dame. He went on to place second at Footlocker. So there could be some secret sauce here. I know you're going for that number one spot. How do we feel? First guest of this series. How are you feeling about the chances in December?
It's really a toss-up for anybody. I think the grade's super deep, but I'm also confident in what I've been doing. It's all about consistency. Whoever wants to be the most consistent is gonna ultimately be there. So I hope to be one of those guys. And I think of myself as a pretty consistent trainer.
Obviously, we're a little into the cross season, but there's still so much left to unfold. It's October. We've had probably about a month of races. Woodbridge just happened, but there's also, so much left to go on. For you, what's your perspective like on what your class is shaping up to be? Because track is not cross country, and I think a lot of people get very high on kids who ran well in track, but a lot of times it doesn't translate, or kids will come out of the woodworks and it's like, where'd you come from? I've never heard of you in my life before. What's your perspective on potential competitors going into the fall season, and how much do you pay attention to that versus just what you're doing yourself?
Yeah, no, I pay attention to it a little bit. I see all the stuff on Instagram, but nothing really like crazy. I like to see what other people do, but I don't like compare myself to them because I know that like at the end of the day, there's different work ethics, there's different skill sets and all that. So, if I just focus on trying to better myself. I think the competition is good though. I think a lot of people thought that um, last year's was amazing, which it was, but there would be kind of a fall off, and I don't think we're going to see that. I think it's going to be another step up.
Which is funny because last year people were talking about being a fall off from the 2023 class with Connor Burns, Simeon Birnbaum, Jackson Hydish, and then I feel like guys like Drew Griffith and Daniel Simmons really carried it. And so I feel like year over year, people always are like, this class is not going to be as good. And then people like yourself kind of elevate it. Something I'm curious to hear about is, speaking of those Instagram posts, I go in the comment section of everyone, and there's always someone tagging you, and they're like, where's my man Jack? Justice for Jack. You have quite the fan base. How do you feel about that chip on your shoulder that you've kind of built? It seems like you're underranked these days.
I honestly like it. I like being underranked. I think I work good as an underdog. Yeah, I got some friends in Mass. I got some. I know my friend TJ Hansen, who's coming to Colorado with me. He's been doing a lot of that work in the comments. But yeah, underrated's fine with me. I just gotta I gotta focus on my season. It's really the rankings don't mean anything until December.
What's your perspective on things like rankings? Do you think they're good for the sport, bad for the sport? And yeah, like I know you kind of mentioned it in your response there, but how do you view something like, seeing your name on paper as this in the country and feeling like you are better than that number? Does that fuel you at all, or not really?
I think it's a double-sided sword. I think that if you see it and you're kind of higher than you expected, then there's two ways you could go about it. It's all kind of the person's perspective. Um, like personally, I saw that mile split 20 and I was not fond of the number. So yeah, it definitely was a little bit of fuel. It kept me doing all the little things that I've been doing. But at the end of the day, it's just someone's opinion. You gotta go out there and you gotta show them what you're really capable of. And I know that I'm better than that number 20, so it doesn't mean anything to me, really.
My favorite ranking story of the year so far is FloTrack coming out with their XC NCAA men's, and Parker Wolf was ranked 11th, and it's like, who in the world is making these? This guy won the NCAA championship in the 5K. Nico's not returning, and Nico got second, and he made the Olympic team in the 5K. And he placed like top 10 at XC Nationals the last 2 years, and y'all are ranking him 11th. Like, it was almost like they ranked him low to get clicks.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they're probably using that as a little bit of rage bait. But there's no doubt that like they take into consideration everything. But I think some things you just can't oversimplify. Like Parker was obviously going to be one of those guys. That's just up there. So I don't know. Yeah, I think I agree with you with the they use that for the clicks.
Jack, when do you feel like you're going to wake people up?
Um, I think that I think they'll see a little bit of that at the regional meet for Footlocker. I think that I'm just gonna go out there and do my thing, and the name is gonna get out there a little bit more. I, I I hope to just make an impact on the sport because Massachusetts is pretty small, and not many people come out of this for cross country and track, especially um, that are too highly ranked nationally. And yeah, I mean, I just want to be one of those guys that kind of puts Mass on the map, and especially like my little town. It's kind of cool to see that a guy like me and Paul can come from the same town, and it's not even a private school. So yeah.
What's your take on kids running so fast early on in the season? And, I mean, it's probably very expensive to get out to, so it could just be that factor. But what goes into a decision like not going to a Woodbridge, and just what's your take on? I feel like, September to October is like these pancake flat, almost fake grass courses that are probably 100 meters short where kids are running times that is just like, this is nuts. But also in the back of your head, it's like, you look really good right now and you could probably carry this through December, but also you got 2 months and it's scary to be running some of these times. What's your general take on, kids running so fast early on in the season, and how do you and your coach build out your season that you are ready on the day, December 14th, in the best possible shape?
Yeah, so I think it's a lot of like playing my cards right. I'm big into the idea of um, having that end of my season be the main focus. I think a lot of kids want to run fast early, and of course that's a good thing. Like you get good fast times, you race good competition. But I mean, at the end of the day, the focus is the national meet, and for me to be as fresh as I possibly can in December um, is the focus. Me and my coach, we talk a lot about this, and it's just um, every race, like it's important. It's important for me to go out there and go give it my best. But with stuff like what I'm have going on right now, the little injury, you have to weigh in how important is it really in the big scheme of things. Like, I know that Foot Locker national title would mean more than, for example, I have a Twilight race coming up, and I want to win that, and I want to run fast, and it's a fast course. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not nearly as important as Foot Locker.
Let's give some flowers to our boy, Paul Bergeron, Paul B, for many reasons. One, amazing guy. Two, he was actually on this series leading into last year's Foot Locker, so it kind of paved the way for you. And yeah, first time in history, I feel like that I've had two people from the same school who are like kind of different grades. Newbury Park doesn't really count because it's Newbury Park and the Youngs are twins. Yeah, like talk about him, his influence, and how much did you learn from his past 2 years of going to Foot Locker? Do you talk to him regularly in terms of, how do I get it right in December? You've done it so many times, as well as, and we'll get into your Foot Locker experience here in a little bit, but going to Foot Locker with a teammate, how special was that last year?
Yeah, it was really cool. We were talking a little bit about this and how we were the guys from the same high school that got to go, and it was just a cool experience being able to go with him because we got to meet so many new people as well. But we also knew some of the guys, especially from like the South team last year, that we clicked with really well. Um, yeah, it was awesome to go with him. We worked like throughout the whole season for this. We both knew that we had a shot at qualifying. I knew he knew a little more than I did, so I was a little more scared at the regional meet, but um, it ended up working well. I mean, we help each other through. We helped each other through the past few years, and now he's at Stanford doing what he does. So I mean, all props to him. The impact that he's had has been pretty huge because he always he always kept me on my toes. Um, I would do something and I thought that what I was doing was pretty awesome, and then he come out here and he kind of humbled me, and it was good. It was a really good thing that I had that to keep me kind of in the right mindset of never being satisfied.
Do you feel the absence of his presence this year? And if so, how are you still trying to push in workouts and get that extra 1% when maybe, the last 3 years in high school, he was always that guy that you could chase and could easily elevate yourself?
Yeah, there's definitely an absence, and it's a little weird training alone some days, but we got it down so good while he was here that the workouts I'm doing almost the same paces, just slightly faster. So um, I I know exactly what the effort's like. Obviously, there's some days that I wish there was someone that would take a rep or two, but yeah, I mean, I can just go out there and I know what my objective is pretty much every day, and it's none of these like hit the ball out of the park home run workouts. It's just a lot of these B+ days that you stack them and it translates into good performances.
Let's talk about your coach. He clearly has done something right, getting two guys from the same school, the only people in the country to do that last year, to the Footlocker meet, as well as Paul's success and now your success. Can you talk to whoever this individual is and what they mean to you and how they've gotten you to this point in the sport?
Yeah, so my head coach for cross country, the boys head coach is Coach Hafferkamp. He he's very the effort's very collaborative this year with me and him. I think that he trusts me a lot with the communication, and we were able to just really talk through everything and make sure what we're doing isn't too much. Make sure what we're doing is the right time of year and all of that. Yeah, um, it's a really good relationship that we have. I think that me and Paul talked a lot about this last year with Haffy and how like we just needed to make sure the volume was at the right amount because that's a big thing in our training program is making sure that the volume in the workouts is nice. But yeah, since Paul's gone, I've been talking with Havercamp a lot, and we've just been talking through every workout. We sit down and have a meeting about not a meeting. It's not like official, but we talk pretty much, if not every day of the school week, 3 to 4 times a week, and yeah, we just talk through training, workouts, what's right for us, for me at this point of the season, how that's going to differ from the rest of the team, what the boys need to do to make sure they're in tip-top condition, and yeah.
I know Paul, when we spoke last year, he was dealing with a little bit of an injury, and it was very much then focused on December and coming back in time. I think I talked to him towards the end of October, so it was closer to regionals. You, and we can get into this in a minute. Crazy summer of training. We can also get into that in a minute, and then a little bit of a hiccup, and now you're coming back from it. How much you can speak to that injury and how you're coming back from it, as well as how much confidence do you have knowing that Paul went through something very similar, performed extremely well at the national meet, and you got the same coach who like has done it once. He can do it again.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool to watch how the seasons kind of they're looking a little similar, even with the little injury, but I think Paul's was a little more significant. So I'm not really worried about that. The way I'm coming back from it though is a lot of biking. I'm getting my effort up on the bike, along with the training. Along with the running. I'm just like I'm working into the mileage slowly. But the bike's the biggest thing. Like I got it right here, and it's kind of just it's a really good mental piece as long as along with the aerobic piece, just because um, it in my opinion the bike's 10 times harder than running. Like I know my aerobic capacity is getting a lot bigger already. I think it was bigger than it already was before I got hurt, just because of the bike. And yeah, I mean it's a really good piece. I wish I could swim a little bit more, and I wish I could aqua jog a little bit more, but I just don't have those resources. So I got to work with what I got, and yeah, I think I'm coming back from it pretty well. Um, I know that yeah, Paul's thing was similar, but he was I think biking more than me. I hit about 3 hours this week on the bike, and I think he was averaging like 5 to 6 every single week for like 8 weeks in a row or something. So he was really hammering the bike. Um, but it's cool to see how he can even with the whole injury come back and place seventh at the national meet. It's cool to see how that fitness is like preserved throughout the little things that you do, because I'm injured. Like I'm a little bit injured right now, and I feel like I'm working harder than everyone to get a little bit more fit. But I honestly, that's my favorite part of it. The fact that I feel like I'm doing more. The fact that I feel like there's things that I feel like I could be doing more in, and that just bugs me. But I I just know that I'm getting to where I need to be slowly, and I need to be patient with it.
This might be a little bit of a hot take, but at least from personal experience, the bike is way harder mentally than anything I ever did within running. It's so freaking boring, like so boring. How much do you feel like you're being benefited mentally on the bike and through those training sessions?
Oh yeah, I feel like I'm being benefited a ton. The bike is definitely 10 times harder, but my big thing is if I have a day where I really don't want to bike, I I get on the bike. Say I have a 60-minute bike. This was actually yesterday. I had a 60-minute bike that I had to get done, and I really wasn't looking forward to it. But because I wasn't looking forward to it, that made me not want to listen to any music during it, listen to anything. I just like turned my TV off. I just like sat there with me in the bike because was not wanting to do it. And I kind of used it as a punishment because like I was like, why would I not want to get better? But I mean, I think that kind of helps me get through it, even though there's nothing else going on. It really helps me focus on the form and all that, so I don't have other little things popping up.
Always so dialed in for Footlocker, ladies and gentlemen, by Jack Stock. Um, it is a little disingenuous from my perspective. You are still running quite a bit, so I think I'm not sure if you're on tomorrow if you do 6 day weeks, but I think you're at like 54 miles on the week. You're building back really well. What's that conversation with your coach like in terms of building up to December? And can you also talk about this summer of training and how you feel like it, really puts you in a good spot leading into this fall cross country season?
This summer of training was really good. I got up to where I wanted to. It was a really slow build. But when you're doing 70, 75 miles a week, you kind of have to slowly build into that. Yeah, I got up to where I wanted to be, and I started workouts. I had a few good tempos that volume wise weren't the most that I've ever done, but pace wise and effort wise were definitely much better than the years prior. I think my like go-to workout was 6 miles at 5:13, just continuous tempo, and yeah, that was a really good session that I hit about 3 or 4 weeks in a row, and I still hit those into the season, and yeah, I mean, I didn't really hit peak volume or peak mileage until about I think it was mid-August, which is fine because I know that the start of my races is later than most people, so I kind of plan for my summer to be extended into this season. Um, but yeah, this summer's build-up has been really nice, and I think that we've been able to stack enough weeks to the point where this little hiccup hasn't done enough damage to put me out.
We're talking early October, national meets in roughly 2 months, so 60 days, a lot of time. What's the plan from now until Footlocker? Races are looking to attack, things you're looking to do in training to put yourself in the best position possible when you line up at Balboa Park on December 14th.
Oh, just stay healthy. I mean, I've said this before in a way. I feel like Cole Hawker. If I'm healthy, I feel like I can beat anybody. It's just the way I have to go about things. I mean, my confidence has never really been higher. I'm confident in my fitness. I'm confident in my speed. It's just, I think I think that even though this little hiccup has happened, I see it as a blessing in disguise because I know that I'm going to be fresher than the people that raced 4 times in September, the people that put all their efforts in the early season. And when they get to the line, they get burnt out. I know I've experienced a little bit of that in seasons prior, but yeah, I just think I am playing my cards right this year.
What would a win at Footlocker mean to you, and how often do you find your mind drifting off to that reality and possibility on the bike or when you close your eyes going to sleep of crossing that finish line in first?
It's yeah, it's pretty much everything I think about. It's pretty cool to think about that I have the opportunity to go out there and go for the win, but you know, there's a lot of good guys. There's a lot of guys that could go for it, but I still think that on any given day, anybody could win it. I just have to be that guy, and I know that I have the pieces of the. I just need to put the puzzle together. It's a really cool thing to watch how like all through the summer I worked. I got my mileage up, like knowing that this was the goal, and like I go to bed early knowing that that's the goal, and I'm on the bike knowing that the win is the goal. It's just I even have a little piece of paper over my bed that's like, remember your goal. It says like I switch it out every few weeks, but this one this one's a little special. I think I for the past few months it's been dedicated towards Footlocker. I think that this would probably be it would definitely be the highlight of my high school career, and of course I'm looking forward to bigger things down the line in college and all that. But I think for high school races, it's really the best one.
Yeah, speaking more to that, talk about your 2023 experience and ultimately what made you want to come back and do it again in 2024.
Foot is a really cool experience. It's unlike anything I've really experienced in the sport. Um, you get to like just well, our experience was a little different. Me and Paul ended up getting a house like 3 days before the actual event started, so we could adjust to the time change a little bit, and I think that helped a little. I think that helped. Um, but Foot Locker as a whole, it was just cool going out there with all those guys, and I mean, ultimately, you know that they're going to be your enemies for like about 15 minutes, but just making friends with all these guys from all over the nation, it's really cool to see us all come together, and especially like when we're all you never really get to see all 40 of them together, but in the lunchroom and like the dinner, you get to see everyone kind of sitting together, and it's like, wow, these are like 40 of the best guys in the nation, and we're all about to go head to head on one of the hardest courses like in the nation. So, yeah, just being there was awesome. Just being a part of it. I think last year because I was a junior, I kind of subconsciously thought that, oh, I made it. That was the goal. And as much as I was telling myself that that wasn't the goal, now I'm just 100% focused on the win.
Curious to hear your take on the Balboa Park course. A lot of people think it's super hard. As someone from Massachusetts, I'm pretty sure you guys have a lot of hard courses. What's the take on Balboa Park, as well as just how cool is it this year is the 45th year of the Foot Locker Cross Country National Championships. The history at this event and meet is unlike any other. They've had it at this course for as much as I know every single year. How cool is it to race on the same course that Olympians, Olympic medalists, national champions at every level have raced on when they were in your shoes?
It definitely lives up to the hype. I mean, you can watch all the videos in the world, but you don't know that hill till you see it. It's pretty weird to see in person, and especially the second time in the race when it takes you out. That's what happened a little bit last year with me, but it's I don't know if it's the hardest course I've ran on. I know Van Cortlandt is pretty bad in New York. Um, it's it's up there. If it's not one, it's two. I think that just it might also be the fact that it's in San Diego, 85 degrees for me when it's supposed to be 30 degrees. So I think the heat might get a little bit to me. Um, but yeah, I mean the course is awesome. I think it plays a little bit more into my skill set because um, I'm a big strength guy when it comes to the workouts with the threshold and the volume and all that. And I think that that's really what you need to take care of those hills.
Let's go back in time to young Jack. Take me through his start in the sport of running and kind of bridge the gap between that first impression of the sport all the way up to present day and how you've made it this far in the sport of running.
I think my first year was sixth grade cross country. My middle school didn't offer any other sports. I think that's kind of the story with a lot of kids, but yeah, they didn't offer any other sports, and my parents didn't want me doing nothing. So they were like, "Why don't you try out cross country?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" And at the time, I was still doing basketball because I'm a tall guy. I'm like 6'2", 6'3". So I was 100% heart set on that. Like I thought I could go to the league and all that, but it definitely was not. It was definitely not the play. So I think seventh grade was when I realized I could be pretty good on this because I was still racing Paul then. Um, he didn't really respect me as much as he does now, but yeah, we were racing, and I think I only ended up running like 15 seconds behind him when he ended up like winning the state championship in eighth grade, and I was in seventh grade. and I was like, oh damn, like this is something I could be pretty good at. And then yeah, when I got to high school, uh, the mileage wasn't all that much. It was still about 25, 30. But I hadn't run all through COVID because COVID was my seventh grade and eighth grade year. Um, and yeah, we got to high school, low mileage. Um, we were just trying to, well, I actually didn't run in spikes in cross country. So that's why I didn't run as fast as I wanted to. I think I ran 16:25 as a freshman on a fast course. And then I got to indoor and that's when I kind of I kind of figured out that I was going to be pretty good at this because that was my first national meet I'd ever gone to. I'd qualified for New Balance indoor nationals for the freshman mile, and I ended up with a PR of 4:22 that year as a freshman. And then I went to outdoor, got sixth at the freshman mile, and yeah, I mean, we got to sophomore year, and that's when I started picking things up. I started focusing a lot on the little things, on doing all the core I can do, and all the strength with the resistance bands, and all the little things, stretching right. And we just, I had a decent sophomore year, but it was in a way a plateau. I think after that freshman year, it was definitely disappointing. I was hungry for more, and I knew that I was capable for more. I ended up running like 4:19 in the mile, and that was an indoor, so my outdoor season was kind of atrocious. I ended up running like 4:28 in outdoor, and that was my best time for that season. And the summer going into my junior year, that was the best training block I think I've had. Um, it just led into a really good cross country season where I qualified for Footlocker, which was again a huge confidence booster and another kind of sense of realizing that I can do something big with this sport. Um, and we got into indoor and outdoor. And outdoor, I would say, would probably be the best season I've had in high school. I ended up running like 4:09 and 8:52, and that was it was just a good confidence booster because Paul had run the year prior 4:10, which was a second slower than my mile, and 8:51, which was a second faster than my 2 mile. So I was right in that realm. I knew that I was around where he was at, and then seeing what he did this year, knowing that I can be there the next year, is really nice.
Speaking more to that, you mentioned last summer, so summer of 2023, going into your junior year, best training block gave you a lot of confidence. As you mentioned, you then go on to make the Footlocker meet, not just make it, but perform really well, specifically as a junior. And then that kind of transcends into the track season where you have the best season you've had thus far, 4:09, 8:52, as you mentioned. Those were both high places at your state meet. Every year, every season, it seems like you're stacking a little bit since last cross season. How much confidence does that give you going into this cross season of like, oh, I'm working hard, I'm training hard, but it's coming easy in a sense of every year is getting a little bit better?
It brings a lot of confidence knowing that I'm nowhere near my potential. I know my mileage is high, but I know that my ceiling is higher. So there's really just it's just going to be a lot of improvement from here until the next 5-6 years through college and all that. I think that I'm going to do as much as I can with the resources I have now, and then once I get to Colorado, new resources, new ceiling, all that. So it's really a blessing seeing the improvement, because I work hard for the improvement that I'm getting, and I think that it's cool to watch it show, but it's important to also watch it not show because it proves that everything kind of it's not like it's not the amount of time you put into it is like the amount of results you'll get. It's just you need that plus the little things plus you just got to want it as much as you possibly can. And if all of that comes together right, maybe, just maybe, you'll run the time that you want to. It's really a beautiful thing, like watching it all come together because you need every piece to work out. But at the same time, if every piece doesn't work out, then you know what you need to improve on, and you can just work towards it. It's always working towards something higher.
You mentioned kind of the wanting it factor. How crucial do you think hunger is within the sport of running?
I think it's very simple. I think that either you want it or you don't. And I mean, you can say you want it all you want, but the action is where it comes down to. Because if you aren't gonna go out there and try to get better by 1% every single day, then do you really want it? It's like you have to take everything into account. You got to play all the little things right. I think the little things are the most important.
Jack, off the cross course, off the track, off the roads, what are some of the pieces that make you who you are, and what are some things you enjoy outside the sport of running?
I would say music is a big thing for me. I don't play music, but I really like listening to music. I recently got into country. Was not a country guy at all before the past few months, but yeah, I found my way through some Morgan Wallen and through some Luke Combs and all that. So definitely liking some country now, but I'm never one to turn down some good rap. We also got. I'm trying to think what else. I'm a big '70s and '80s guy,
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm
Speaking my language.
yeah, I'm loving those. I'm loving that type of music. I think that it's really just I that it sounds weird, but that was my pre-race music. Like I didn't need to get hype. I just needed to be excited to race. And so if I was in a good mood, I was going to be excited to race.
What's next for you? Where can people expect to see Jack on a cross country course?
Yeah, so we got a twilight meet coming up. It's on the Cape. It's on Cape Cod, which is about an hour and a half from where I live in Mass. But it's I think it's the fastest course. It's called the Twilight Meet in Barnstable. It's yeah, pretty much the fastest course in Mass. So I'm looking to throw it out in a pretty fast time if everything allows for it. But at the same time, nothing's as important as December. I'm gonna go for the win, and if that happens to be a time like say the state record, that is very possible. Then there you go. Then it happens. But if not, it's all right.
Jack, the final question I ask every single guest on every single episode. If you had Gordon Ramsay coming over to your house for dinner, what would you choose to make for him?
Um, I don't know if this is the best thing I can make, but I know it's definitely like the most frequent that thing that I make that I enjoy eating. It's pasta with meat sauce, a little bit of bolognese. So I
Ooh,
think I can make a little bit of that with some. I'm a big penne guy. I'm not a big spaghetti guy, so I like the penne pasta, and yeah, a little bit of grated cheese. I think that would be pretty good.
Jack, I'm supposed to be unbiased, but you create your own rules. You're definitely one of the guys I'm rooting for in December, and it's been super fun to follow along your journey since I met you actually last year at Footlocker. And I always just appreciate kids who work really, really hard because even if they don't hit their goals on paper, it's cool to see that they actually went after something. So I always feel a little guilt when I see you running 75 miles a week, and I'm like, dude, you're slacking. You're slacking. Get out the door. Go do something hard. So appreciate the conversation. You filling out some of your story, and excited to see you absolutely tear it up December 14th at Balboa Park.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me on. It was really fun talking to you.